Today on The Special Sauce, we are joined by Lucinda Ridd from AILR. To quote AILR's LinkedIn page, AILR starts with a diagnostic. Before recommending anything, AILR looks at your technology, your data, your workflows and your team. That assessment produces a clear, honest picture of what's blocking your ROI and exactly what to prioritise. Everything that follows is scoped from what we find, not from a standard package. Lucinda, welcome to The Special Sauce.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Had a bit of a stutter there. But thank you very much for coming on the show. We're really excited to have you. I think from our conversation about a week ago, it got my brain kind of really thinking about a heap of stuff, not only I think for our business, but I think individually my desk and even how some of our clients can use it. So yeah, good to have you on.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So give us a bit of a rundown, I guess, just for sake of an introduction. As I said, what you do is a little bit different to some of the other guests that we've had on here. Obviously want to reiterate though, you are a very experienced recruitment professional, been in the agency game for a long time. So maybe give us just a brief rundown on your experience in agency and how that's led to where you are today.
Yep. Okay. I think in terms of how I've landed where I am, 20-something plus years in recruitment agency land, I'd always considered myself a generalist who had specialised in recruitment. Mm-hmm. So probably not a recruiter at heart, just a person who'd fallen into recruitment as we all do.
Yep.
So when I say a generalist who specialised in recruitment, what I mean by that is I didn't just see myself as a linear recruiter. So I moved in, I don't know, I was probably in my mid-20s, moved into the accounting game. My clients used to say, oh, you're an ex-accountant. No, I'm just good at faking it. And within a few years, I was leading a team, managing a team. By the time I went on maternity leave with my first child, I was probably about 5 years into recruitment. I was leading a team of about 15 people. And in that time, I'd also established a new practice where we had to establish I had to build the team, but also establish a different way of delivering to clients because it was a new practice with a different methodology.
Yeah.
So that's rewinding quite a long time. Following coming back from having kids, I worked for, at the time, Marshall McAdam, which was a startup.
Yep.
And I did everything from operations manager to building a team to coming back off after my second kid to run a contract desk to build some contract revenue to in the very early days, really establishing the technology and the systems and the way that we would deliver as well. So throughout my career, there's always been that peg, if you like, which is recruitment, doing the job. But I built teams, managed teams, run desks, built desks, managed the operations, implemented technology, done the works.
Yeah.
So that's when I talk about being a generalist who specialised in recruitment.
Yeah. And I guess, what I noticed about your LinkedIn profile is that you've had kind of some of those roles and titles within recruitment that are a bit different around systems and process, which is what I really wanted to speak to you about today because it was actually a webinar I saw you on a couple of weeks ago. And I've sat on a lot of webinars of late, in particular about AI and recruitment technology. And to be honest, I walk away from them with no real, I'm no better off, right? But I think with what I saw with you was you were able to give pretty quickly some really good examples and some quick wins, which we'll definitely talk about today. I want anyone listening to come out of this with some quick wins. But I guess to dive in, I think, AI is all the rage, I think, in every industry at the moment. In particular, I mean, we're definitely seeing it in the recruitment agency space. What is going out there in the AI space for agencies in 2026, and are we all getting a little bit carried away about it, or is it all justified?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd probably sit on the fence. I think I have had conversations with people where they've said, oh, it's a storm in a teacup, and have given me examples of other changing dynamics, the internet or email or whatever it might be. I think like those things are inevitable and they did become a thing and they've become integral to how we work. So I don't see it as a storm in a teacup. I equally don't think it's something we need to be afraid of, and I don't think it's going to change the world. But it is a very, very powerful tool. And I think that businesses do need to. They don't need to be afraid of it. They don't need to jump all in either. They don't have to do big custom builds, but it's a powerful tool. They need to start using it. They need to start learning how to use it. And it doesn't have to be big things. It can be small things.
Yeah. Have you seen, I guess, obviously specific to the recruitment industry, right? People or agencies or leaders almost go too fast into it, if that makes sense, and just buy every, shiny new AI toy or tech tool that's out there, and what's that sort of lead to their business?
Yeah, I think for those businesses who have been early adopters, without having a strategy, without having real thought around what the problem is that they're trying to solve, it is very easy to buy the shiny new tool. And there are so many tools out there that are being promoted as solving a problem. Doesn't mean it's necessarily your business's problem, but there are so many tools. They're easy to implement. They're not much. They don't necessarily have to be much per user. And what some businesses have a tendency to do, those early adopters, is just to end up with a tech stack that has just got all these different tools all working in isolation, not working together. They're AI tools. They're designed to learn. And if they're being used in isolation, they're not learning. They're not learning from each other. They don't have the opportunity because they're all in isolation, and then the business doesn't get the benefit. So I think that's the risk, having those shiny tools, not very expensive. They come in and solve one problem that your business may or may not be experiencing.
Yeah, I think we've definitely seen that, and we've spoken about it a few times, that I think especially early days for us, I'll buy everything and anything.
You see anything on Instagram, Matt, and it's
I know.
a Society credit card.
But then over time, you just end up with like a heap of stuff that like does nothing. And if you're stuck in like 12-month contracts, and it can get pretty pricey. And I think we definitely see that with a lot of, I think, newer agencies. Like, you get an agency owner who's worked for a business who's reasonably tech savvy, go out on their own. There's no, there's like the brakes are off, and it's like, let's go. And before you know it, they're spending, a stack of money on monthly subscriptions.
Well, it's so exciting, right? They're genuinely shiny new tools that are really awesome. Yeah. It's so exciting. It's very easy to jump in and adopt them. But I would like to express caution around making those investment decisions too quickly.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm interested to understand, and maybe this is more to, I guess, businesses you've worked with that maybe have, not startups, right? 1 or 2 people. They might have, 10, 20, 30 consultants, whatever it may be. Is there anyone that's done it really well in terms of the adoption? Because one thing I guess we hear a lot as Rec Directs is, I've bought this, new AI tool, this new piece of tech, but shit, my consultants just aren't using it. They're still just doing emails or phones or whatever it is. What advice do you have for agencies around getting consultants to actually use it and break the habits of old?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges. That's with any change, with any technology. AI is no different. Getting adoption to be where you want it to be, it has to start early. It's one thing for a leader to say, let's spend some money on this tool, but that's not enough. So buying the tool, giving a couple of hours training and leaving it to the team, that's not enough, because they'll try it. They'll either it will work or it won't work. And then particularly if it doesn't work, that's it. It's crap, and they won't use it. So there's so many things that need to be considered around that adoption, and it stems from a change management principle. And if you think about, most places are not great at change. It's hard because it's not core business. But if you think about the change management principle of I don't even know if it's a change principle, but I'm going to say it is, what's in it for me? So the consultants actually need to know what they're getting from it. Yep. At least then if they can see that they're going to get something from it, if it doesn't work the first time, then they'll give it another go. And the other reason I say don't just give them 2 hours training and leave them to it, because the chances of them, even if they see that they can get something out of it, if they're busy and it doesn't work the first time,
it's gone.
It's gone.
Yep.
So I think it's really vital, to have a leader who is not only financially invested, but is personally invested. So that leader the person who's signing off buying the product or deciding that they're going to implement this technology, this AI platform, whatever tool it might be, that person has to involve the team, talk to the team like they would about anything else. They also need to use it. So saying, hey, you guys need to use it, I've paid for it, here you go, easy tool, not good enough. They need to use it. And then beyond that, using it, they need to be sharing successes. They need to be sharing challenges. You know, find that person, that advocate in the business who is going to be an early adopter. Get them using it. Get them sharing their wins. Find the cynic. Get the cynic using it. So the person who says, I can do it better than the technology. No, get that cynic. Okay, prove to me that you can do it better than the technology. Or give me a couple of days. Do me a favor, humour me, give me a couple of days, try it, see if you can do it better than that, whatever it might be. So it's a whole range of elements when you think about it. You've got the investment, you've got the leadership behind it, you've got the constant communication, you're talking to the advocates, you're talking to the cynics, weekly roundtables to share successes, to share challenges. If you're working, and I don't like this one personally, but the reality is if you're working in a very KPI-driven company and your team do things so they tick off their KPIs, then KPI it. KPI data quality, KPI, whatever it might be. I mean, there's something, I don't want to get into the details about how you could KPI it, but you absolutely could KPI technology adoption and AI usage. And if you've got a business where you've got to make X number of calls, X number of meetings, and the team do it for KPIs, KPI it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I don't love it, but if because I don't love KPIs for the sake of it.
No,
but
I'm
I think
the same, but it makes sense, right?
Yep.
It makes sense if that's how the business culture, I guess, or the system is run. People are going to do it because, I don't know, they're either, I guess that's how they're rewarded within that business or not.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, you don't want to have to KPI it, but I've also worked in businesses in these kind of situations where unless you do, nothing really comes of it.
Yeah.
In terms of, I guess, the change management piece, or even the adoption side, like, it's funny. One of the things I'm starting to see a bit with recruiters when they're looking for a new role, it's popped up a few over the last few months, is recruiters saying to me, I just want to go to a company that's kind of willing to explore and try new ways of doing things and utilizing tech, right? And I think with, a lot of the tools that are out there, a lot more of that is happening. But like, what advice would you have maybe for let's say it is someone at a consultant level or at desk level who is sitting there still, doing everything manually, that's trying to convince their manager or the person who signs the checks to get on board with some of this stuff? Because I would imagine there's going to be, at some point, agencies that get left behind.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there will be. There's those agencies who are still just burying their head in the sand and openly saying, I just don't want to know about it because it's too hard for me to get my head around. I have a, like, what's the saying? Not a double-edged sword, like a two sides of a coin answer to this. What I want to say is just use it and show the person, the company you're working in, what you can get from it. The reason I have the other side of the coin is because unless the business is invested and they're providing business accounts, that person's going to be using a personal account to demonstrate that it works. And that's risky. And if I was to say to a business, the first thing you should do is your team, almost everyone in your team will be using AI for something, get them off personal accounts and buy a business account. Yeah. Decide what tool you're going to use and sign them up, because it's a huge compliance risk. Any of that personal data, candidates' information, clients' information going into a personal account, because the LLMs, the large language models, they learn particularly from the personal accounts, whereas a business account is more locked down.
Yeah, I think that was one thing for me when I heard you speak recently. That was one thing I'd never thought of, right? Like, you can imagine if someone's using their personal Claude account and attach that to the CRM or whatever else, like that is so risky for a business.
Even just wanting to format a candidate resume or getting, it might be a long list, 5 candidates. This is a quick win, but it's also a risk if you're using a private account. But you've got 5 candidates, they're all great. You're pressed for time. Again, don't love this, but get Claude or ChatGPT to tell you which of the 3 or which of the 3 you should represent, or how you would rank 1 to 5, or even a better example, which is one of the ones I did on that webinar that you were talking about, is actually, and that was my paid account.
Yeah.
But actually getting a candidate's resume and matching it to a job spec. And what I have a LinkedIn profile, so having 3 different files open and actually I got Claude to actually do a structured candidate summary report to represent to a client. So they're all really powerful things. It's super easy to do. But if you think about if that was a personal account, that would have salaries of the candidate's expectations. It would have salaries that the clients are offering. It would have client details. It would have the candidate's email, phone number, possibly address, any number of things. If that's in a private account, you've got a big risk.
Yeah, yeah. With I think one thing I've kind of noticed, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Perhaps you can tell me, but I also feel that a lot of people and businesses are getting AI confused with just automation and systems and processes. Mm-hmm. And I think people are going, in an agency landscape, okay, well, this doesn't work, or we're not getting the outcomes we want from our particular process. Let's get some AI tool and hopefully that fixes it. When reality is, it's like, well, I don't know, maybe you're just not interviewing your candidates face to face, and that's the problem. Are you seeing people get systems and process mixed up with AI?
You'll often hear people talk about AI and automation in one, almost as one word.
Yeah.
Almost like a hyphenated word. AI and automation. They are 2 different things. And they can be worked together. You can have AI overlaying automation overlaying AI, either or, working together, but they are 2 very different things. So automation is really something that's fixed. It doesn't think. It's a very structured, non-thinking set outcome or set process. And it's designed to, well, it can be used to and should be used to reduce or remove those ongoing manual actions. So I'll give you an example of if you're asking for an example.
Please,
give you an example of automation, and that would be if you're pushing a candidate through the pipeline. So you've got a candidate who you've submitted them to the job, and you've then shortlisted them. There could be an automation running in the background that actually pushes an email out to that candidate that says, you've been shortlisted to the job, for instance. That's automation.
Yeah. And that's where I think, I don't know, even just from the conversations we're having, that's where I think a lot of people are getting mixed up or confused. So I guess just on that, right, like I would imagine there's agencies spending a lot and doing a lot with AI when reality is it's not going to fix the problem, right? So let me ask this, for you and your business and what you do, when's the perfect time to speak to an agency where you can have the most kind of impact? Is it when I'm already in that, hey, I've just spent all this money or I'm doing this, or is it before that? And if so, when?
I don't know if there is a perfect time. That's a really good question. I don't know if there is a perfect time. There's going to be some times that are easier. But even when I say easier, my first thought is those businesses that have not invested yet. That's easier because they haven't made a business decision as opposed to an investment decision, as opposed to those businesses who have already done something. But the flip side of that is whilst if they're already using some technology, they might have 15 different tools. Whilst that's harder, if you like, because there's a lot more going on, they've also shown that they're prepared to adopt and they've got stuff happening. So there's no real perfect time from my perspective. But if I was advising my clients on an ideal time to work with me and other people who do similar work to me, then my advice would be early on, because I think if you get someone in early on to assess the landscape and look at the different avenues that impact your investment decisions and ultimately the success of those investment decisions, then earlier on is better.
Yeah, okay.
That makes sense. And I guess one thing I'm interested to hear is just around just the ROI. You know, I think a lot of businesses, as you sort of said, that they're spending, reasonable amount of money every month, every year. What are they actually seeing in return? Or even
is anyone
getting any substantial, return?
Are they even measuring it?
Well,
how do you even measure it?
Yeah. And I think there's still very real questions that I can't necessarily answer. My view on ROI is you don't have to go in big from the outset. And I think that was the point of this is the message I like to get across always when I'm working with clients, is looking at those quick wins. You don't need to spend a lot of money. So if you've got an idea of what your biggest pain point is, that could be a big custom build. But there could just be small incremental steps that help your business start adopting AI and using some of the tools and actually seeing, I just saved myself 20 minutes. So I think in terms of ROI, it's not really measured. It should be, but you need to have an idea. Comes back to the basics. You can't measure the return on investment unless you actually know what you're saving, because fundamentally your investment for any technology investment is both the cost of the technology and also the time that it takes. In order to balance those things off, you need to know how much time you're saving, what you're doing with that saved time, and how much more money you're making because you've saved that time. It's a rather complex equation, and that's why I say small investments. ROI is not hard to achieve through small investments and quick wins.
We need some AI that measures the ROI.
Yeah.
For the recruitment industry. That's an idea. Write it down.
Yeah.
Build an app.
Yeah, that's our retirement money. Out there, I guess I don't have to mention any agencies or companies you've worked with, but is there anyone out there or any examples you can give of anyone who's doing it really, really well?
I think some examples of those businesses that are doing it well, you've got those businesses that have built and big custom builds. When I say big, it's big compared to some quick wins that we've talked about, but a custom build where you've got a full new user interface that sits across your ATS. So instead of having the ATS, because most ATSs are not great, some are better than others, the user interface, the newer ones tend to be more appealing in terms of a user interface, but their capabilities behind the scenes are often not as good, generalising. But, you've got those businesses that have got full new UIs that sit across the top of their ATS. They haven't replaced their ATS, but they've got Claude. Most likely, I'll talk about Claude more than anything else, but they might have Claude sitting over the top. They might have built a custom dashboard that allows them to access their data, penetrate their data, essentially without using the interface. So that's that's a decent sized build, but that can be a game changer. Yeah,
that for me is awesome, because I think so often for so many agencies, like changing or transferring CRM or ATS is a massive project in itself, and if you can just layer something over the top like that as you said, that's game
the data's
changing.
already there.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. Really. Small one that's super easy to do is, we know that recruiters are notoriously bad at getting data in the system because for years and years and years we've had to do it manually. And unless you're someone who's really diligent, is that person who sees the value in data, most often the data is sitting in a recruiter's head in a notebook. So those businesses that have just implemented, this is the one I'll always recommend, one of the first things to do, note taker, transcription tool, just finding a way to get that data in the system. So then you can, when you do overlay or put AI over the top of it, you've actually got access to the data. Because if the data's not in the system, so many businesses they don't use their ATS. They're spending a fortune on ATS, which has got just rubbish data. It's got candidate resumes and it's got none of the human element. I think that's absolutely vital, because if we go back to what AI is as opposed to automation, AI is that thinking, logical, humanistic thinking. So the idea that what AI gives us is another human type logic. Doesn't have the soft human skills, but it does have the ability to reason and logic and analyze far quicker than what we can, essentially. But if all you're doing is getting it to, regardless of the tool that you engage with, that you decide on, if all you're doing is getting it to filter through position descriptions and resumes, you have no competitive advantage because there's no human element to that data. That data is just what a candidate has put into their LinkedIn profile or into their resume. The real value of the data and where it makes a difference is when you're getting those human conversations, the human assessments. You guys know, you'll look at 3 resumes, they could look exactly the same. But what makes you actually work with someone, know that someone's great, is the conversations you've had with that person. They need to be in the system, and the easiest way to do that, even if there's no formatting, even if it's rough transcriptions, just getting that data into the system through a transcription tool. When you start engaging with AI tools, they're able to access that data and help with the candidate matching and whatever else comes to follow.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, it's funny, this makes me think back to a conversation we had a couple of months ago with Adrian Byra, one of our clients, and you know what, I think it was him who said, you know, you put crap in, you'll get crap out.
100%.
And, you know, they're really tight and really strict on their data and how they manage it. And what that has enabled his business to do now is pretty much any new starter, I don't want to say guaranteed, but he's very, very confident he can get them to bill 100K in their first quarter. And he said that all just comes down to having good data, and that the day someone starts, that desk and, you know, the clients, the candidates, everything is mapped to within an inch of its life.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
That's getting easier to do now.
Yeah. And I think even, you know, like, I don't know, even for Chris and I, we spoke about this, like when you start a business or start an agency, you don't even know what you don't know. And I think, you know, even recently for me, looking at different ways to generate business or candidates, whatever, you start looking at, okay, well, can we do email campaigns? Can we do social media campaigns and everything like that? And once again, it all ties back to the data that's gone in off the back of conversations or the data you've collected through applications and whatever else. So, yeah, and I think definitely see the agencies that are really, really tight on this stuff typically do pretty well. That said, I still see plenty of agencies and $1 million billers who have never put anything in the system
Lots
in their
of $1
life.
million billers are like that. Yep. The risk with that is not to the biller themselves, but to the business that hires that biller. Yeah, big risk.
It's interesting. I literally read a post last night and forwarded it to someone. Actually, it was someone in the UK talking about how the cost of the desk these days, let's call it, with all the different tech tools and whatever else, and they've been around and had their business long enough to say that, you know, the cost of the desk has skyrocketed, but perhaps the return on investment, you know, isn't as good as 15, 20 years. And maybe it comes down to that, you know, were people better off with less distractions on their desk? You know, what do you reckon about that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. We've got so much technology and so many things at our avail, and unless we're utilising the time, going back to AI and even automation, the time that you save with AI and automation tools, that time has to be reinvested somewhere. Otherwise, you're paying for it, but unless you're using that time that you've freed up to add value, do more work, call more people, provide a service that is above and beyond what you've been able to do before, whatever it might be, unless you're actually using that time that you've freed up wisely, you're not that much better off.
Yeah. You touched on before that perhaps where agencies can get some really quick wins is definitely across the transcription and the note takers. Is there anything else that you've seen out there, even if it's something you use perhaps in your personal life or anything like that, any little tech or tools that I'm going to ask you the same question, so have a think about it. Is there anything else that you've seen out there that you've used that you can kind of give a plug for?
I use lots of different tools, and I use different tools for different purposes.
Yep.
So it's not a very exciting answer, but I think it's probably a good tip for businesses who are looking to invest is not every tool is suitable for everything.
Yeah.
So Claude at the moment is a front runner. I use Claude primarily for work purposes.
Yep.
And by using Claude, it's Claude Chat, it's Claude Cowork. They're my two main tools, and Cowork's quite new.
Yep.
They're my two main tools, and it's extraordinary what it can do.
Yeah, I'm still on ChatGPT. I haven't tried Claude, but I know you've been over Claude.
Yeah, I've been using Claude for the last, I don't know, maybe 4-6 weeks. It's still new, and still use ChatGPT as well. The OG, I'll say.
Do you use them for different things? Or you just whatever you feel like going into?
Just what I feel like going into. Like I'm still playing around with Claude and getting my head completely all around it, but it's definitely a lot more natural in terms of the language is the one thing I've found. But yeah, I think it's like anything as well. Probably similar to yourself. Like there's a million things, and I'm that type of person. I can go down a rabbit hole, right? But outside of that, even in personal life, I try not to use it, if I'm being honest. And I was probably contradicted to what we're saying, but just times need to switch off.
Now you had a good one the other day that
base 44.
Base 44.
Yeah. So allowed me to build an app. So one thing we get asked, and we'll do this for sort of pretty much every sector, right? But our background was sales recruiters, and sales recruitment, go to market recruitment. There's huge demand, and I think a lot of our clients think, oh, you boys were sales recruiters for 15, nearly 20 years. You know it. You know everyone. Yeah, to a degree, but there's just no one out there. That's why. And it's always the same brief. Oh, can you get us, we're looking for a unicorn, 4 or 5 years Melbourne or Sydney experience. They know, FMCG or tech or whatever. And we want them to come to us. All right, cool. We know it's a tight market. So this app basically that we literally took us about, an hour to build, if that. We've mapped out the market. We've uploaded the data and, punch in what you want, sectors, years, experience from 1 to 10 plus and everything in between. And it'll take you out and say, hey, this is the critical talent shortage in your space. There's 3 people in Melbourne that match this brief. Now we can say who it is in the back end. We can say, well, Lucinda, the reality is 2 of these people run their own business and the other one's an AD. So they're not going anywhere soon.
How long did that take you to build?
40 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, see, it's extraordinary, isn't it? The things that you can do now. I was talking to someone the other day about building a website, and they said, oh, people have said to me, he said, people have said to me, oh, I can build you a website, it'll take me 40 minutes. And I said to him, well, I built my website using Claude and it probably took me about that long. And I said, but just because I built my own website and just because people tell you they can build a website for you doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah.
So this is the other thing is we can do so much. But if you think about a website, my website does its job. It's really just a landing page. It's not meant to be very sophisticated. And I think it looks good and it does the job that I want it to. But I would be hesitant when people say, oh, I can do all of that with AI so quickly. Well, maybe you can. I built an app. I started last year actually, about, September last year. I built an app using Claude. It was probably the first time I started using Claude because I was mainly ChatGPT. And I started in Gemini. That was not a good outcome. So moved to Claude, built this app and ended up with this app's phenomenal. It's a health-based app. Yep. It's phenomenal what it can do. But then I was like, but I actually don't know how to build an app because Claude built the app for me. So I built it started in Gemini, moved into Claude, and then I moved into Claude Code. So I rebuilt it in Claude Code. So it's perfect essentially. It's not perfect, but it's great. Every evolution has been better. But I'm now, when I get some free time, getting Claude to teach me how to code. So rather than using Claude Code I've already used Claude Code to rebuild the app. Now I'm actually getting Claude just to teach me how to code because I think this is a risk with AI as well. We're capable of doing so much, but AI is doing it for us. So what skills are we learning? We're getting an output and we're getting a great output, but what are we learning to do other than prompt?
Yeah.
So, and I did book last year I went to Vietnam and I did use that. Did you do that mainly through Gemini? So I do use it at home.
I did that actually through ChatGPT. I'm going to Thailand and it was just basically, hey, find me these. It's like a travel agent and all you have to do is put in your credit card. Details and go, just find me everything. This is what I do. This is my family. This is what we're into. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, these are the 5 or whatever it was places that we recommend.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where it is. I mean, even if I look at, just some of the, creating the clips and the social media stuff off the back of this podcast, 6, 12 months ago when we started, the tools I was using to do it and how long it took versus now has changed significantly.
What are you doing with the time that you're gaining?
Oh, wasting it on prompting GPT, ChatGPT.
Going down that rabbit warren.
No, but just on that, there's one thing I have been using, and funnily enough, it ties back to what you said before about the quick wins, and it's essentially a transcription service. And I can't remember who got me onto it, but it's a tool called Whisperflow. I think I saw it on advertised on Instagram. Let's face it, but it's just pretty much whether I'm on my phone or desktop, anywhere there's a field that you can type, you can just basically dictate. And after a couple of weeks, even now, the thought of having to actually type an email frustrates me.
Yep.
And I've been really surprised at how good it actually dictates. You can set the tone and stuff like that.
I think I've seen that on Instagram too.
Yeah.
I thought of another one. There's a tool called Napkin,
Yeah, right.
which is really cool. So one of my kids won't get into the details, but she's fairly disorganized.
Yep.
So we needed to work out a morning structure to help her get out the door in time, and she's quite visual. So I don't even know where I found it. It's napkin.ai, and it's basically a diagramming tool. So I put in her schedule and printed off like 3 and said, there you go, which one works for you? She goes, I like that one. Excellent. And it's awesome. It is so cool because you just punch in what you want. You can put it in table. You can do free text and it spits out this tool.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
My wife listens to this. She'll probably use it on me.
She might.
On that note, thank you very much for jumping on today. I've really enjoyed this chat. And I can assume if anyone wanted to reach out and have a conversation, they can reach out via LinkedIn.
LinkedIn or via the website.
Beautiful.
Website's got these funky buttons that send me an email.
Perfect. Self-build as well.
That's right.
Mate, thank you very much once again. We've really enjoyed the chat. And as mentioned, for anyone who's interested to learn more about this, make sure you reach out to Lucinda directly. Thanks for being on The Special Sauce.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you.